and welcome to PJFM in Conversation. My name is Darcy Grabenstein, and I'm a member of the Festival Screening Committee. It is my pleasure to speak to Asaf Galay, who's joining us from Israel. Asaf is director of this film, The Adventures of Saul Bellow. Asaf, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for hosting me.
Sure. And I'd like to begin by asking you, what made you decide to direct this documentary about Saul Bellow?
So there is three reasons. The first, maybe you can hear my accent, but I was really born in Chicago. Like Saul Bellow say, I'm an American Chicago born, but I'm an Israeli Chicago born. So my father studied in the University of Chicago in 1978, and Saul Bellow was the powerhouse, the intellectual in those days in University of Chicago. So I heard so much about Saul Bellow when I grew up. The second reason was that I really loved him, and this is always when I come to do film, I'm coming from love and admiration. Especially, I like to make film about writers. Maybe this is because I really wanted to be a writer, but I'm not a good writer enough. Who knows? Maybe I didn't suffer enough in my childhood to be a good writer. This is what Dickens said, that to be a good writer, you need to suffer in your childhood. So I admire writer, and my previous film was about Isaac Bashevis Singer. It was also shown in the Philadelphia Jewish Film Festival, and it was a big success. And the film is telling the story of Isaac Bashevis Singer and his relationship with his translators, but especially the 48 women translators. But the story begins with his only men translators, Saul Bellow. So after I finished the Saul Bellow, the Isaac Bashevis Singer film, I said, now I will make a film about Saul Bellow.
So you beat me to the punch because my next question was about your other film. And you said you're not a writer, but you wrote and directed that one, correct?
Yeah, yes. But it's another skill to be a filmmaker and to do a film about writers, and sometimes I do about what it's considered a high culture, and then I like to make films about what it's called a low pop culture, like about comics or about my last film was about a Swedish singer from the Army of Lovers, a Swedish queer band that made Aliyah. It was also shown in the Philadelphia Jewish Film Festival. So I need this balance between this high culture and the pop culture always.
You keep beating me to the punch with your answers, because my next question was about what's it like to transition between the roles of writer and director?
It's a good question. It's hard to director. You in the end you have so many. You are more like a conductor of an orchestra. You need a good violin. Let's say it's a good editor, a good photographer, a good soundman. You need to, and you have your vision. But all the people that works with you, they need to really be the best craftsmen in your team. So it's good producer. It's such a big team. Also documentaries that it's only like 6 people working. You need like the best one in your team. So, and you are only the conductor. And really comparing nowadays, there is a new generation of filmmakers, that documentary filmmakers that are editing their own movies and photographing and doing and producing everything. So I admire the new generation of filmmakers. I'm a little bit old style. I'm only director. I'm not a photographer or a cinematographer or editor. I like only the big structure of the film.
So you're saying that being a writer is much more, I'm a writer, not films, but that being
Yeah.
a writer is more solitary and that being a director is more of a team effort?
Yes, yes. For a writer, you just need a pen and a piece of paper and you can write. I have so many projects that I want to make, and some of them are succeeding faster because I get the funding for them, and some of them are stuck in the middle, and some of them are stuck still here in my drawer and never happened because I didn't have any money. I cannot start anything without at least some money. So I'm so dependent already in so many other factors. And to be a writer, you just need to have a pen. And I admire it. I wish that I could be like this.
It's so funny. I will tell the audience now that I did not send you questions ahead of time, but you keep jumping to the next question with every answer. So my next question was that the film opens with a logo and a statement by the National Endowment for the Humanities. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to know what kind of grant money that, if any, you received for this film.
So the film started with funding from the Avichai and Gesher Foundation in Israel that are funding, it's called the Jewish Stories. And then after this funding, I got like good 20 minutes. And then I was stuck for, I think, 1 year. I didn't have enough. And then I got the National Endowment for Humanities that gave me big money and I could finish the film. And then I didn't have the money to have the archive because there is a lot of interviews. So I waited and then I won the Ken Burns, the Library of Congress prize that gave me another money to finish it. And then the film was sold to American Master PBS, and I had the last thing that I could go out and finish the film. But I had like a rough cut of the film already done, I think like 2 years, 2.5 years, it was done, rough cut, but I didn't have money to buy the archive. So
Right.
it's a
So
very
before we continue talking about this film, I want to jump back for a minute to the one about Isaac Bashevis Singer, because you featured his harem of translators, and I couldn't help but see the similarities between Singer and Bellow. What would you say to that?
yes, but there are similarities. You cannot say, let's say that Bello was a serial monogamist, and Singer, let's say, was a serial polygamist. So in this, and also, uh, but they have really a lot. You can see their own life, their own. You can in their books, in their literature, you can see their own personal experience. It's not like science fiction, and both of them are asking the question about the life. For me, it's I can see it the Jewish question, the Jewish life in the modern area, how to be secular, how to live in a new country, uh, outside of Europe, outside in Israel or in the Soviet Union or in United States. So that they're questioning the same questions, and both of them looking for answers. Bello tried a lot of kind of spiritualism in his life. Uh, Isaac Bashevis always, let's say, believe in the spiritual, not spirituality, but spiritual, like ghost and stuff like this. He really believed in this. So both of them were in the same, and both of them thought that the connection with the uh, woman, with the female gender, will solve all their own problems. but it was always a failure.
Right. I was laughing because you did it again. You kind of skipped to my next question, talking about how, how Bellow's works were a lot, in a sense, semi-autobiographical. Life imitates art, or art imitates life. And I was wondering if you had any conflicts about going so deep into his personal life, or did you receive any flack for doing that? I mean, he was a public figure, so I think many people would say it's justified to do so. Um, what are your thoughts about that?
You know, I think that in my film also, in this film, people will watch it. I hope that they will watch it. They will see that I have a very that his family is a very important part of his film. I can from his niece, the son of his older brother, to his three sons from his first three wives, to his two latest wives. So it's a very personal portrait of him, not only scholars and writers and friends, but very personal. So I felt that they are opening for me this
Definitely.
story, this side.
Yeah, it shows it a whole different side of him, really.
Yeah.
How well known is Bellow in Israel, and has this film been screened there? And if so, how was it received? There compared to maybe in U.S.
The film will be screened soon in Israel. We'll be screening the Jerusalem in 4 weeks, so it didn't have his sorry, the premiere. I hope it will receive good. People in Israel really still love Bello. He visited like 4 times Israel. Some of the interviews that I found out are from the Israeli broadcast archive, and people read him, and he's a well-known.
So I want to talk a little bit about technique. I noticed in one scene you can be heard asking the question from behind someone's asking it. I thought it was you from behind the camera. And I'm
Yes, it's me.
curious as to why, in that one scene and not anywhere else in the film. And then I'll ask you about some of the other techniques, but we'll start with that.
So usually I don't like to put myself on screen or behind. It's not that, but sometimes there is moments in the interview. Always I try also to give the audience the angle that he is interviewing. I don't put the camera like this. I put the camera in an angle that you can feel that you are talking to the interviewee, that he's talking to you, and also you can see all his house, the bed, everything. It's not in a studio. There is a lot of documentaries that like to make it in a studio, so it's like already a meeting. That the audience is coming to the interviewees, to the Philip Roth and meeting him. It's very personal. It's very comfortable. But sometimes there is so great a ping pong dialogue between me and him that if I will cut it will ruin all the humor. So I still need it. I need to put it. I cannot change it.
It also gives the audience a little bit of context too,
Yes, yes. And in the end, they will know that there is somebody behind here.
So I was actually on a movie set of a low budget short film in Philly a few weeks ago. So I'm really interested in technique and the process. So if you could tell me a little bit about, I noticed the juxtaposition of the black and white photography and the color, the soundtrack, which was amazing. And the filming location, was it all in Chicago or was it, somewhere else?
All the streets are Chicago. This is the landscape of the film. The street of the Chicago. This is like also the landscape of Saul Bellow's film. Try also to combine a dialogue between the contemporary Chicago
Right.
and if it's if it's a book about the 30s, so archival footage from the 30s and later 40s, 50s, the dialogue between the past and the contemporary Chicago landscape, the past that is in Bellow's books. So this is, but there's some of the interviewees was in Chicago, and some people, Philip Roth lived in Connecticut, and Bellow's son Adam lives in New York, so it was all over United States.
I loved how you opened and closed the film with the mother and daughter at the cabin. Did you know that you were going to end and do it that way, or did it just kind of come together that way?
No, this is the thing that it's the visual that in the end the talk you cannot script things like this. It's coming. This is also the thing that it's in documentaries, that you cannot plan everything, and there is a moment that you need to know how to catch it. You need to wait. There is something will come, and in the end you need to make your own narrative. I didn't know that Janice Bellow, his late wife, will be the, let's say, the leitmotif of all the film, like the chain. I didn't think. I thought that it will be something else. But then you come to the materials, and you need to reconstruct this story, this narrative, and then you understand better and better.
So you mentioned Philip Roth. You interviewed some real big names, him, Salman Rushdie. So I have to ask you, do you have any plans to work on documentaries about them or any other authors?
I think they made already 2 or 3 documentary about Philip Roth. And when I met him, first I wrote to him a letter and I told him I want to interview you, and he said, "No, I quit. I already 7 years ago. I said I don't write any more books, so I don't need to give any more interviewees. Why? So go away." And they said, "Really?" And then I told him, I wrote him a letter. But if it was Saul Bellow, you think that he will do it for you? He thought that he always thought that it's to promote you. So now it's your turn to give him back. And he said, "Yes, okay, come to me to Connecticut for 20 minutes. And I said, okay, 20 minutes, it's great, I'm happy, I will do it. I saw all the movies about him, and and I understand that this guy is a really politician, let's say. He say always the same thing in all the interviews. It's the same joke with Portnoy, the taxi cab driver, the same joke like this. He have the same kind of thing. You can read from the 70s until the last day. He said the same thing. This is also very opposite to Saul Bellow, that was really like to interviewee and play with them and feel smarter and give each time a new smart sentence. He never repeat himself. Roth was really another. He hated interviews and was repeating himself all the time.
So were you there 20
So
minutes?
I came here. What?
Did you get 20 minutes or more out of him?
I got it from him 2 hours. It was amazing. He laughed about my accent. He gave me so much jokes. He enjoyed. He talked only about Saul Bellow. This is also amazing. When you interview a writer, he talks about himself. You know, Salman Rushdie, I loved him, but most of the interview he talked about when he read Bellow and when he met him, and nothing about Bellow, only about him. It's okay. This is writer how they think. So, and And Philip Roth was talking only about Bellow, nothing about him. And it was a great interview. Then he said to me, okay, let's meet next summer. I want that this time you will make a movie about me. I say, of course, we'll meet next summer. And I missed it.
So Bellow is described in the film by his family as a schmuck with a pen because of his career choice. So I have to ask you, would your family describe you as a schmuck with a camera, or have they been supportive of your career?
No, I think that I came from a family of musicians. So when you will come to my family, they will always say that he needed to play the violin and he quit in his bar mitzvah, and they are still very sad about that. And he said he had a big potential to be a violinist. So for them, I'm a schmuck with a camera and not a violinist, or at least this.
So I have to ask you this question: if Saul Bellow were alive today, what would you want to ask him directly yourself?
Wow, so this is a great question. What I would ask him right now? Uh, I know. I think that if I would meet him, it's also a thing that for me to. It's easier to make a film about somebody that is already not with us, dead. When you admire, then somebody that when you admire him so much to make a film about him, it's difficult. So I think that I prefer sometimes that I never met Saul Bellow. I never met Isaac Bashevis Singer, so it's make me sometimes easier.
And for my last question, could you tell us what's the next chapter for you as a director?
So I'm working on a film also about people that died. This is the Fleischer brothers. They did Betty Boop and Popeye and Superman. They were four Jewish brothers. They were animation studio bigger than Disney until they collapsed. So it's a very Shakespearean tragedy. Four brothers that when they worked together, they were the biggest. And when they started to fight, everything collapsed. And
that was
Disney,
my question. Is that what caused them to collapse? Is the conflict?
The conflict, no, and the chasing to Disney, they were really competitive to him, and they wanted to be like him, so they forgot their own authentic style, and this is what happened them to collapse.
Well, I'll look forward to that. So, Toda Rabah. Thank you so much, Asaf.
Thank you.
And thanks to our audience for joining us. And I want to remind those that you can see The Adventures of Saul Bellow on our virtual platform through November 20th. And be sure to tell your friends.
If I will meet him in the next world, I will try to not to talk with him, or I will leave him to talk with Isaac Bashevis Singer.